Hey everyone, I'm Katie and I'm a hobbyist game developer. This past month, I've taken a break from my bird game project to work on something a bit different. I've wanted to take part in a game jam for a while, but the timing never really worked out. But this July, the stars aligned and I was able to convince my husband and younger brother to form a team to participate in my first game jam with me.
Do you want to form an alliance with me?
Absolutely, I do.
Good, excellent.
This game jam, as indicated by its title, is a great way for beginners to get started in jams and game development. It's 2 weeks long, which while that might sound like a big time commitment, I actually found it more approachable as I could spread out my time working on it throughout those 2 weeks. It's also not competitive. It's just a bunch of people getting together to make games. This year's theme was light, and what we came up with is a submarine game named Depot, where you explore the dark depths of the sea using your limited light resource. So without further ado, here's what I learned by participating in my first game jam. Not everything has to be perfect. Just get something working. Oh man, this was a bit hard for me. In some ways, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I want to do things in the most efficient way, often to my own detriment. But with the limited time frame to make a game, you don't have time to ponder every single detail. You just need to get something working. So I would say, if you have an idea of how to implement something, just go for it. Sure, you can do some research, but don't deliberate on implementation details forever. Just implement it.
I think it's a good idea and I'm standby.
I also learned to be less picky about my teammates' work. This isn't a diss to them, this was both their first times using Godot, and over the course of this project they learned so much. But because they weren't as experienced, on their first code contributions I kind of info dumped every Godot tip and best practice that I had learned onto them. This was A, annoying, and B, slowing us down from making any progress on the game. So I learned to get off my high horse and let their implementations be. I still suggested things here and there, but I didn't cause it to be a roadblock in our progress. 2. Lean into others' ideas. Working with others can be great, but it can also be challenging. In solo game development, your game lives inside of your own head. You know what it is, and you don't have to communicate that idea to others usually. But when you work on a team, you each have your own idea of what this game you're making is, and everyone has a slightly different game in their head. You have to communicate to sync the games that live in everyone's head together, so you're actually all working on the same game. When you and your teammate have a different idea of how the game will work, it's easy to stick to the idea that's in your head and assume that that's the better idea. You, of course, have the full picture in your head, but what you're getting from your teammate is only what they're communicating to you. I would recommend leaning into your teammates' ideas. Don't immediately reject them, but instead learn more about what they're thinking and why they are thinking that. Being flexible is not only better for the moods and feelings of everyone on the team, but I think it also leads to a much more rich and interesting end product that's a combination of multiple people's ideas, not just yours. As a caveat to this, I will say there were several hour-long discussions that we had about game mechanics that didn't actually make it into the game. So while communication is good, when discussions go on for too long, it's probably just best to put a pin in it, move on, and work on something else for a bit. If it comes up again, it's probably worth continuing the discussion, but it also might just not come up again, so there's no need to spend so much time on it. Prioritize your assets. We went into this jam thinking we'd do everything for the game. Art, code, music, you name it. It would be a product that one of us made. Time, however, had other plans. So when you think about what you will hand make, think about the impact it'll have on your game. You can start out with pre-made assets and slowly sub in your custom work. When choosing what to custom make, think about what will have the most impact and most make your game unique. For example, our game started out with this submarine art that we found online, and then we later replaced it with this custom pixel art I made. Since the submarine is the main thing you see all game, having it be a custom art piece really lends to the overall feel of the game. However, for our water and cave tile sets, most of the time it's in the dark, so you don't see it that often, and what we had was good enough, so we kept it in our game. I would also say be realistic about what your current skills are. If you've never made music before, learning a whole music making software and then making a song may take you the whole 2 weeks. Don't be afraid to try out new things, but do be conscious about how many new things you're trying to do at once. Outsourcing your assets is okay, especially for a jam, so don't feel bad about it. Get feedback and give feedback. A game jam is a great opportunity to actually get feedback on your game and get people playing it. With our game, we had made and playtested the levels ourselves so many times, so we knew where every enemy was and exactly what to do. Seeing what other people thought did really help us make sure that we kept the difficulty levels in check. It also helped us see where people got stuck. What's obvious to the game developer is not always obvious to the player. So being aware of these blind spots we had really helped make sure the game was actually playable by other people. Also, as a new game developer, it's just cool that other people were playing a game that we made. And of course, it's only fair that when someone gives you feedback to also try to give them feedback. And not only is it fair, but it's also really interesting to see how other people interpreted the theme and what they made in the same time frame as you. I think it's safe to say that when you're doing a game jam, you're not going to complete every idea you had for your game. So I would recommend to regularly cut down what the final submission will be. For us, we realized that we were not going to have multiple courses like we originally planned. So we focused on getting one tutorial course ready that would convey what the full game would be. It can be disappointing to not have a cool feature that you had planned out in your game jam submission. But remember that the end of the game jam doesn't have to be the end of your game. Get something playable out for the end of the jam, and you can always come back to this game idea later and really flesh it out. So that's what I learned doing my first game jam. If you're interested in checking out our game, it's available on my itch.io page. What's there currently is what we submitted to the game jam. And since the jam's end, we've continued to work on the game. We've made some tweaks based on some feedback we got, and we've also added some more courses and content to the game, which we plan to release at a later time. If you do play it, let us know if you have any feedbacks and comments on the itch.io page. But yeah, overall, I'm really glad we were able to get together and make this game. I definitely want to do more game jams in the future. Next year, I definitely want to do the Game Maker's Toolkit Jam. And if you have any other suggestions for jams to try out, leave them in the comments. Thanks all for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe for more game dev content. I'll see you on the next one. Bye!